Hey, let's show the Hall of Fame ballot, shall we?
Yeah,
Since
let's show
it
it.
was mailed out, and we can bicker about this over the next couple months and see what you guys are into. We haven't really talked about Hall of Fame voting much in the early days of foul territory in year one, but the winter time is the time to break it down. We find out who makes it in January, and then they have the induction ceremony in July. So here are your returning candidates on the left side of your screen. And if you're listening to you know what? I'll do it for you. I was going to say, if you're listening to the pod, just look it up. But Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, Gary Sheffield, Carlos Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Omar Vizquel, Andy Pettit, Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, Mark Burley, Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod, Torrey Hunter, and your new candidates, Todd Frazier, Brock
What?
Holt, Eric Kratz, Lorenzo Cain. No, I'm just kidding. That
I
was
don't think
Look,
I'm.
you are
I don't think I'm
you are
staying on
kidding.
the ballot too long.
Yeah, but
No, me neither.
new candidates. All right, here's the fresh ones. Ready? Jose Bautista, Adrian Beltre, Bartolo Colon, Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Holliday, Victor Martinez, Joe Mauer, Brandon Phillips, Jose Reyes, James Shields, Chase Utley, David Wright. So first off, Todd Father, do you send a little text to that dude BP, to Brandon Phillips, because you played with him, and just be like, hey, congrats on being on the ballot? Obviously, he's not going to make
Dude,
it.
that's a feat in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's so cool, I think, of seeing guys on there that you played with. It's like, dude, I had that much of an impact, at least knowing that, I played with that guy. I threw him a nice double play ball, like, or whatever it is. I knocked him in for a run. Like, little stuff like that for me goes a long way. But yeah, seeing those faces, Adrian Gonzalez play with him, Bautista play with him. So there's a lot of guys now that I'm seeing on there, David Wright, that I've played with. And I think that's even cooler to see that. And listen, most of them are not even going to be Hall of Famers. That's just being realistic. But to even be on a ballot, dude, that's so darn cool.
Who do you guys like?
I mean, off the list. I mean, Adrian Beltre. I mean,
course.
he's an obvious choice.
He's
for me,
making
man,
a year one. Beltre's getting in right away.
He's in.
I think that's no doubt.
You know what? I'm not good at the Hall of Fame thing, man. Like, I don't know, honestly. Like, I don't want to sit here and say, like, I mean, David Wright, if he doesn't get injured, he's a shoe in, right?
Sure.
So
yeah, but he won't touch it because he didn't.
Yeah,
he didn't give you enough.
But I mean, just looking at the new candidates, I mean, I got Adrian Beltre. He's in, and but like Todd said, it's cool to see these guys that you played against and played with. That dude BP was with the Red Sox for a split second. We got him a World Series ring in 18. He had a walk-off or he had a go-ahead homer for us against Atlanta. But yeah, I mean, David Ortiz made it. I got to play with him. That was the first teammate of mine that made it into the Hall of Fame. So it's cool to see these guys that you played against, played with, get the recognition that they deserve.
Do you see a guy like A-Rod getting more votes, at least this year, since it's not as, I don't know, stacked as numbers?
I mean, just because there's not as many like options this year that you feel good about, in my mind, doesn't mean that you should vote for someone who was punished for steroids multiple times.
What he's got? Manny's
got
2 years left,
I think now those guys that were proven, I think their chances are about as good as mine to get into the Hall of Fame.
I'd rather vote for you, Brock, than A-Rod. Well, I would say that to his face. I'm sorry. Like you.
No, it was just a question.
No, it's a good question because people get passionate about it. And what happened was, I can speak for many writers that I was around over the years, because I would, host things that were Hall of Fame related. And there reached a point where I think some writers who were trying to speculate on who used PEDs and who didn't kind of gave up at the time before testing. But I think the one thing where I felt was universally accepted was people said, okay, we hit a point where testing became but testing became a thing in general, and you get suspended if you get caught. Sure. Are there guys that are going to use and never get caught? Okay. But I mean, you can say that for anything, right? Like, just because, there's people that have committed a crime out in the world and they haven't all been caught, should we say, well, that nobody gets put in prison? No. So in this case, A-Rod's been caught. Manny Ramirez has been caught. I think most writers can agree, the ones that are voting for the Hall of Fame, that that's their line.
Yep.
People have different lines before that, but I think most people have marked that as their line. There is one grouping that says, you know what, I don't care. I don't give a shit. Like, they got punished for the time, and there's other dudes that are in the hall that used. So I'm just voting based on stats and what I saw out there. But I think, like you said, Brock, those two have no chance ever because the rules were put in place. There was more of a process, at least according to everyone, right? And there was testing, and they're toast.
And I've said this before. If Barry Bonds is not in,
Bingo.
Anybody below that should not be in. And that's
bingo.
That's the God's honest truth. Is that was one of the best, if not the best hitter we've ever seen. So
well, there was that article that came out with like the top 10 MVPs of all time or top 20 MVPs of all time, and Barry Bonds was like 3 of the top 5, and like the numbers that he put up,
astronomical.
Oh my God, dude, unreal.
I think after Beltre, the next name that's getting some popularity is Joe Mauer. I'm curious to see where people go. I mean, unfortunately for Joe, going through the injuries that he did, and then really, heading over to first base for a lot of work late in his career takes away from some of the catching time because, if he had played for that length, even the length that he did, and he stayed at catcher most of that time, I think he's in because it's such an underrepresented position. Catcher is a spot where it's just been difficult to vote guys in. I think part of it has to do with the fact that generally you're not going to get the same offensive numbers. I mean, there's not that many Piazza Pudges out there. So for Joe Mauer, the offensive numbers were solid. Yes, he didn't play as much catcher as the catchers that are in right now, but I think I can at least understand the consideration. Obviously, great dude, clubhouse guy, great with media, all that, but you need to stack up the numbers. And if you're at a position like that, you're going to get a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But I'm curious to see what the voting looks like for him. He's definitely not going to get in right from the jump, but I could see him picking up some momentum just because, it is kind of a weak ballot right now.
Yeah, he was another name that kind of intrigued me, and I'm anxious to see how he fares in the voting, because he's got the awards too, right? He's got the MVP, he's got the Silver Sluggers, he's got the Gold Glove. But like you said, the injuries kind of slowed down his catching. And it's just one of those things, like, how are the voters going to view certain things? And that's why, for me, the Hall of Fame thing is just, it's a difficult thing to vote on. Obviously, you have your obvious guys who, okay, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. And then you've got these guys in a gray area that you don't know. But Joe Mauer intrigues me as well, because he was a hell of a player.
What do you got, Todd Father? Joe Mauer?
I said it earlier. I think he could, but then I looked at the numbers a little bit. I don't ask me why. I thought he hit a lot more home runs than I actually hit more home runs than Joe Mauer.
What do you got? You got him in front of you?
I had him yesterday. I thought it was 143. Am I crazy?
I'll bring him up.
Did he have more than 143, or what? I thought it said 15 season, 143 home runs.
He wasn't a home run guy, so that wouldn't surprise me.
I don't know why. I was just
143.
Listen, he was really good. He was, dude. The stories you heard about him, he could hit a 60-yard field goal. The guy who was a great basketball player, like he was.
He had great sideburns.
Mr. Everything. Yeah, I'm on the fence about that one. I'd lean right now to say no, but I'm gonna look more in. I would have to look more into it. I would say Adrian Beltre for sure, and he'd probably be my only vote.
Yep. Okay. That's fair.
And put Pete Rose back in there, I think, too.
That's your boy Pete.
So
have you caught up with him lately?
Pete, Barry Bonds, and Adrian Beltre.
Todd's ballot. That would make some noise.
Ballot. That would make some noise.
I didn't say Barry. Now I didn't say Barry, but I'm a big. He paid the price, so it's gonna.
Well, and he has like 7,000 more hits than anyone else.
No, exactly.
Jeez, dude.
So it is what it is.
Have you caught up with your boy Pete lately?
I saw him at the show on Sunday in Chicago, and he was signing autographs.
Is he still making the push?
Bro, this guy, I've never seen anything like it. Like he's probably half of America probably has his autograph by now, but people still come. They keep coming and coming and coming. It's like everybody wants a piece of him, man. He could be the president of the United States. This guy is just everybody wants a piece of the action with this guy. It's unbelievable. He's talking shit to me while he's signing autographs. We're having a good laugh or whatever. He's squeezing my neck. I'm like, yo, Pete, how about you give me a text back every time I text you? He's like, I didn't hear that. I'm like, oh, yeah, you hear whatever hell you want to hear. But he's the best, man.
Yeah,
I had a great time with him.
That 2015 All-Star game, Todd, I don't know if you remember it, but you won the home run derby.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't. I forgot.
Yeah, you won the home run derby there at your home field. But my wife, her biggest thing was like, I just want to meet Pete Rose. I just want to meet Pete Rose. Get a picture with Pete Rose. Get Pete Rose's autograph. So she's a big Pete Rose fan herself. So she'd probably put him on her ballot as well.
That's a smart lady. Love it.
Whenever Hall of Fame conversations come up, it just lights up social media with, "Where's Pete? It's been enough time." Whatever.
What do you think, Scotty? I don't have your opinion on it.
On Pete?
Yeah, just curious.
Pete should be in the Hall of Fame.
All right.
Yeah.
No doubt. I have no doubt there.
And listen, if you would have said no, I wouldn't have been mad at you. I was just curious because everybody has their thing about it.
Now, should Pete be in the sport as a coach or an advisor to a team or whatever? No, he should not. Those are two different things for me. Can we look at a career and say that he is a Hall of Famer based on everything that he did for the game? Yes. Even if he's not allowed to be involved in the game, I think those are two different conversations. Do you know what I'm saying? If there is a trust issue with the league that he's going to be privy to information, and he's a gambler, okay, cool. Then he's not involved in the sport, right? He's not a coach and all of that, which is fine. And he was a TV broadcaster for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
To me, that's a big difference from the Hall of Fame. I don't think it hurts to put someone like that in the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? I think it does hurt. I think it hurts a lot of fans who were huge fans of him growing up. And this isn't the PED conversation. And like we mentioned, there's people that use PEDs that are in the Hall of Fame right now anyway. So Pete got in trouble as a coach. It's obviously not allowed in the game, so he's not allowed to be involved in it. But I don't really understand the Hall of Fame portion of the conversation.
And now two things about the whole situation. So you see guys getting caught, football players, and gambling, whatever it is. They could say whatever they gamble on, whatever. I'm not trying to pinpoint one person, but you get a year suspended. Okay. There's betting sites all over Major League Baseball, like all in the stands, in the stadium, and all that kind of stuff. And we're promoting gambling. So it's like, it's a little.
Well, it's part of it now.
Both parties. You're I don't know. That's the only confusing part to me. He did what he bet. Of course, he screwed up. I get it. And he did it as a coach. And it is what it is.
So put him in the Hall as a player. I don't give a shit about the coaching stuff.
That's a great call. Yes, a great call. That makes tons of sense. We're putting him in as a player for what he did. He's the best hitter to ever play the game. Hitting wise, God almighty. People, this world's getting a little crazy. Get his ass in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, let him get the speech. Let him get the whole deal. Yeah. There's worse human beings in the Hall. Exactly.
And it's
before
going to
he goes away is a good point.
He's going to go, and that's what's probably going to happen. Then eventually, 45 years down the road or whatever it is, hey, we're putting him in the Hall. Well, who gives a shit then?
Yeah,
I agree. You got to do stuff when people are around for it. So I think you could have a case at some point, and the league tries to stay separate from it from the Hall, but I think you could have a case, 10 years from now where there's a different commissioner and he has a conversation with the Hall and they're like, hey, let's adjust things and let this go, for him, or at least give him an opportunity to be voted in by the committees. I need more context on that. And we can bring some writers on. Obviously, we'll get into this more as the offseason.
I would love to talk with Ken Rosenthal about it, and Tim Kurtz, and get Tim on here. We'll get Tim back. I would love to see what their thoughts are on that. They'd be.
We're talking to Ken later. I will tell you, he's not in Hall of Fame mode right now, so he might be like.
We'll talk to him later.
You might this is where Ken's brain's at right now. You might be like, Ken, tell me what you think about Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, and he'll be like, No, Todd, the Reds are not in the running for Shohei Ohtani right now. His brain is in trade signing mode. But yes,
Sorry,
I think at some point we should have that conversation.
We got sidetracked there. My bad. I got
Nah, we can. We're coming up on the holidays. We stay so business-like. I think it's worth a good combo. And obviously there's a ton of people that are really passionate about it. So our fans like it, so we'll get into it more. And I'm sure Mr. Pierzynski's pretty opinionated on the Hall of Fame stuff too. So
sure,
when he swings back, we'll talk about it. But anyway, yeah, I think Beltre is the one who's going to get in. He's a lock. He's beloved. He's got the numbers. He's got it all. And actually, in my old job when I worked at MLB, it was talked about so much. I was like, can we move on? Like anytime he came to the plate or his name came up, like everyone I worked with would be like, he's a Hall of Famer. And I'd be like, we know.
No shit, right?
They'd be like, he's got to get in, as if it was like a debate. I'm like, it's not a debate. He's going to get voted in as soon as his name's on the ballot. It's like, let's talk about something else.